So, all right. Since it's Love Month and we're kicking this off, first of all, we're gonna start. Before we get into the nitty gritty questions.
Nitty gritty questions.
Yeah. What is love?
I'm so scared.
Now, for a small fee, I can ask any question that you all. My cash app is. No, I'm kidding. We're gonna start off. What is love, and what do people misunderstand about love?
All right, that's a good question. Start with you, baby. Ladies first.
Well, I think love is more than just an emotion. Granted, it starts there, but it's more than emotion because you're not going to always feel love, and some married people are nervous to say that, but it's true.
It's true.
There's some mornings you wake up and you're like, "What in the world have I done?" But and it doesn't change.
And we got one. If you since you saying that, how about the days that you say you feel like you cut me to the white meat? I'm just saying, testify, baby.
It's more than an emotion, and I think it's a combination of love and a feeling, emotion, and commitment. And the thing that people misunderstand the most about it is that love is a feeling, and they stop at that. So when you don't feel like it, then you immediately feel, oh God, I must not be in love, or he must not love me, because feelings change the same way we change our clothes every day. They change, and sometimes you have to learn how to manage your feelings the same way you manage your money or you manage anything else. You have to always be in a mode of managing your emotions, and that's just a major misconception, and it gets people in trouble.
Commitment, George Zaleki says about commitment. Commitment is doing the thing that you said you would do long after the feeling you said it in is gone. So
that's good. Say that one more time.
Commitment is doing the thing you said you would do long after the feeling you said it in is gone. Because there will be days that you feel like, listen, it will be easier for me just to go my way. Sometimes, it doesn't necessarily have to do with infidelity or anything like that. It has to do with your emotional well-being. Sometimes you feel like the person you're married to is stressful. And I know you never felt that, but I'm just saying for the rest of people. And if you feel like they're stressful, sometimes it's like it's easier for me to move away into a situation that causes less stress. But commitment says, I'm going to stick this out, and we got to figure out how to make this thing work.
That's good. That's good. Come on, give it up for them. Thank you for that. All right. So since it's Love Month, we're going to talk a little about you all's story, right? First, how long have you all been married? How long did you all know each other before you got married?
We were married for 30 years. This year will be 30 years on June 18th.
Come on, let's give it up for that.
I got married when I was like 10, though. I was like, nah, I'm just kidding.
What you want me to say?
So, 30 years. How long did y'all know each other before you got married?
Oh, we knew each other for at least 10 years before we got married. We were friends in college.
She was my best friend.
And then after I graduated and he graduated, he came back here, and I stayed in Greensboro. So it was about 10 years before we got married.
So how did
but
y'all...
we were not dating all that time.
Right. So how did y'all
Because
make that...
he was dating my roommate.
Oh, my God. Why?
Wow.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
See, that
Shots
was
fired.
way back
Shots
when we
fired.
were in school.
Shots fired.
Yes, and we didn't stay together long. Come on.
So you dated the roommate because it would give you an excuse to come to the room and be around?
No, he dated her because y'all know me. I'm a sweats and sneaker girl. That is me all day long. Brittany fusses at me when I pull up in the sneakers. I don't care, her and Pam. That's just me. But my roommate, on the other hand, she was the dresses every day, and I guess she just, she was just more appealing to him than my sweats and sneakers. But he found out that she was a wolf, and so anyway.
Wow.
In sheep's clothing.
Wow. So how did y'all make that switch from,
I actually came to her and told her that I wanted to take her on a date. She said, "You're my brother. That would be incestuous."
So you were in the friend zone?
We were friends.
That was all
You
I
were
was
trapped
going
in
to
the
ever
friend
be.
zone. You in the friend.
So
how did you break out of the friend zone?
This is not going well.
That's fine. I came here Because he had told me that he was going to start the church. Now, if I'd known that I was going to be a part of it, I'd been like, okay, you need to go ahead and get that law degree or whatever. But nevertheless, I said, well, you go ahead and do what God told you to do. And so he came here to start the church. And so I was in Greensboro working, and I came up to visit. It was Pastor, he wasn't Pastor Cherry at the time. He was preaching the initial sermon? No, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, and I came, and he just looked different. He wasn't a brother anymore. I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm gonna be honest with you. Now, when I looked at the church, I said, well, Father, what in the world? Because it was just, he would believed in what God had called him to do so much
because you came to a service at the first church.
Yeah, I came to the first church, and I prayed, y'all.
And
I prayed.
That church was, the plastic would fall off the wall in the middle of the service.
I said, Lord, what?
And a rat that came out in every service.
Stop talking about the church. So anyway, go ahead.
Testify. Okay. So you look different. You looked at him differently. And at
I was fine.
And at this time, you had cut the roommate, and you still wanted Lady B. What made you choose Lady B, Bishop?
Do you want me to tell what you're gonna say, or you want me to say tell the truth? You want me to say what you think I was gonna say? Well, no, she's gonna say that we had friends who ran interception, and because we were stuck on we were gonna be friends, and so Elder Cherry and my sisters were like, at that time I was actually engaged to someone else.
Yeah, he's a player.
I ain't been but two of y'all. I was engaged to her. I thought I wanted to marry her, and so but they did not like who I had chosen. So they were like, oh, he needed to be with her. So they orchestrated this whole thing that she and I would get together and told us that y'all really like each other. Well,
so
we really did, but I had
room.
experienced rejection.
So you engaged someone else, but your heart was with Lady B.
Always, but she wouldn't have me, so
but she
I
had rejected you, so you didn't want to shoot your shot again.
I didn't want to shoot my shot.
But you didn't know that she had a change of heart.
She had a change of heart.
Oh, okay. So, Lady B, what made you choose Bishop?
Speak in the mic.
I've always admired his walk with the Lord and his love for the Lord, and so that was just. And then he was cute too. So there were several things that was working for him. But I think the main thing was that he loved God, and I felt in my mind and my heart that, oh God, if he loves God this way, and he values the Word of God, because I can always win an argument in our house with the Word of God if I get it to work in my favor. And I knew that if he loved God that much, and he loved the Word of God, that he was a good person that I could say I do to. And then I loved him.
Oh, that is beautiful. Come on, give it up for that. So, in 30 years of marriage, what are some of y'all's greatest lessons, and what have been some of the biggest challenges?
I think the greatest lesson for me is that when we got married, we got married and came out the gate pastor and first lady. And if I could rewind it and run the hands of time back, I would have focused more on being Mr. and Mrs. Borders. Because at the end of the day, when you all are gone, when you all gone home, when you all are living your lives, then he's not Bishop, he's Randy, and I'm Norma, and we have to live. And I think, we place a lot of emphasis, because we both love God. We love God so much, it's ridiculous. And we love the institution of the church. But what was good for us, and we should have learned earlier, and we thank God for redemption, but we should have concentrated more on us. We always teach our kids early on to share. We teach them to share. Go to school, share your candy, share with your brothers and sisters. I think that there's a moment in every life of a married couple that you do have to be selfish for a little bit. Yes. Because if you just give and give and give, and nothing ever comes back to you, you'll find yourself depleted, and divorce court is full because you're just gone. You didn't work on yourself, and what you work on the most, you'll get the highest return out of that.
That's
very
good.
well
That's
said.
Good. That's good. So, Bishop, what have been some of the biggest lessons for you?
One of the biggest lessons for me is to to keep our marriage to ourselves and not to casually share things with people. So it remains special. And
good.
so it remains special because people talk about things, but they talk about things from their perspective, but they have no idea of the perspective that she and I have because we don't just let everybody in it.
That's good. That's good. So I'm gonna bundle the next two questions. What have been some of the biggest challenges, and what do you all wish someone would have told you before you said I do? We're talking about before I say I do, right? So what have been the biggest challenges, and what do you all wish someone would have told you before the altar?
The biggest challenges for me have been allowing distractions, focusing on other things when I should have been focusing on her, and then having to realign myself because I know that in order to keep the marriage strong, then I would have to do what I need to do. Let me give an example. Like for us, electronics is a thing that she doesn't like. So I'm an Apple man, so my watch is synced to my phone is synced to my iPad is synced to my computer, and all of them are serving a purpose. And so if three of them are off, one of them is on. And so for her, it's like another person. Even if it's a document, if it's mail, it's another person. It's another entity, and she wants time where there's none of that. And I struggle with that from time to time.
Okay. Lady B, what have been the biggest challenges?
I think the biggest challenge for me has been in my own mind, because I had to, in my mind, I was thinking, because as I'll say it again, we love the church, we love God. So in my mind, it was like, okay, I have to be at a certain place, and I'll say it, I have to be second to the church, to you all, to his call, and that's something that I had in my head because of just the way I was raised, and that's a big challenge. But it was something that was in my mind that I had a place. So there was oftentimes that I didn't say anything earlier on when we got married, or if he had to go to a funeral or there was a call in the middle of the night, I didn't say anything because I felt like that my place was not to say anything. But it wasn't until I was reading about Sarah, and she was Sarah at the time, and Abram, and Abram told Sarah to tell her, say that I'm your sister. And she did, I don't see why, but she did. But when I read the story again, it says that Pharaoh blessed Abram because of Sarah. He got stuff because of her. He didn't lose his life because of her. And it was like a revelation to me that the Lord showed me who I am. And I realized this man's life has probably been saved many times because of me. What he has, and I'm not being arrogant, the Lord just made me aware. And sometimes you just have to be aware of who you are, and it'll change your position in your own mind. I mean, because I was my worst enemy, and that's been my biggest challenge. So
you're trying to say that a lot of what the Lord has done for me just because you were in my life?
Absolutely.
So I want to make a slight pivot. I want to ask, how important is it to have, because, thought about some of what you posted the other day, and some of the questions that came up from people were about having shared values and convictions, right? How important is that in not only a relationship, but ultimately a marriage?
Well, it's important because, like for me, my mom got sick early on in our marriage. It was important to me that she had an appreciation for family. So when my mom's health began to fail, and I had to go spend the night with her from time, not one time has she ever said, stay home. It's like, you better go, your mom needs you, and that kind of thing. So I was always honored her for the fact that she honored my family, particularly my parents.
Lady B, anything you want to add? Like, how important is the shared values, shared convictions?
I keep turning this off because it's whistling. I think it's really important. I think we place a lot of emphasis on being unequally yoked when we're talking about marriage and relationships. While it's important, I think we need to go all the way back to how can two walk together except they agree. And so we really have to agree on things. There's some things that I think they're non-negotiables, and he has to have non-negotiables, and he does, and I have non-negotiables, and we talked about all of those before we got married. And I think anybody who's thinking about marriage, and if you're in a marriage, there has to be some absolutes. Like, he absolutely cannot ever put his hands on me, ever. That's a deal breaker. And I don't believe in that in any type of relationship. Some people just, you have to, see, now I have to cut him. Hope, get me the knife, I'm about to cut your daddy. But no, you have to have some non-negotiables. If it's infidelity, if it's cheating, if that's your breaking point, if that's something that you can't have in your relationship, he needs to know. She needs to know that it ain't gonna fly with this one. And so we really do have to have some things that are, you can't cross that line with me.
You can't cross lines, but then also, I'm just big on forgiveness. You gotta.
I know.
You gotta forgive your spouse every day.
You do.
Because every day they'll do something
This is true.
that will get on your last nerve.
Absolutely.
And you say, I forgive you.
My Lord.
Because you've offended me.
Yes.
I forgive you for all the things
I
that
know.
you do.
And
that
I
I
will-
tell you not to do. I still forgive you.
And I will forgive. I believe in forgiveness too, and I know you do. But he has the capacity to forgive and go right on. And I thank the Lord for that. I'm not wired like that.
Takes you a minute to get
It takes me a minute, but when I do forgive, it doesn't instantly mean immediate restoration. It means it's going to take time for you to restore the place that you had.
That's good.
And so now for him that's different, because you all will never know. He may have compartmentalized you in a place in his mind, but he's just going on and he's so loving. I really admire that about him. It just takes me a minute. I wear my feelings, and it takes me a minute to actually restore someone.
Life is just too short.
It is.
It's too short for me to hold grudges and for me to be upset. I've walked in the room with people, I know they just finished talking about me, but I just don't have the time to allow that to weigh on me. I would never get anything done.
I don't let it weigh on me either. I just remove myself.
No, you sometimes let it weigh on you, and that's why you remove yourself. But you just have to learn that forgiveness is such a key to life.
That's true.
It's such a key to any kind of relationship, not just marriage, but in friendship. You got to forgive and let people go.
You still have to have some non-negotiables.
I forgive Pat. He done walked out of my service. I don't know where yet. Been gone for a minute. Go ahead.
So you made a great point that there's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. We're required scripturally to forgive, right? Forgive that you will be forgiven, but we're not required to reconcile in the sense of putting a person back in the same place in our life. Right. And I think that's sometimes something that we often ignore or don't pay attention to. You mentioned non-negotiables.
But wait a minute, but in relationship, you have to let the people come back to that place in your life.
Are you required
Not
to?
always, not always,
in
Bishop. No.
relationships.
So let me ask
Now,
this, Bishop. So
you can't be so quick to cut folk off in relationships.
I understand that.
You got to learn to be
I do.
long suffering. And if Jesus said, if your brother, you ain't even married to him, your brother offend you 7 times 70 in a day, you got to forgive him. What is it that you cannot forgive?
So let me ask this. So you forgive them. What determines whether or not you place the person back? And I'm not talking about just relationships, even friendships or relatives. What determines whether you allow the person the same space and access in your life? How do you determine that line?
You make time. Trust is spelled T-I-M-E, time. It takes time to rebuild that trust that you had at one point, but it can be rebuilt.
It can be rebuilt. Don't get. I am
rebuilt.
not saying that it cannot be
know you're not
rebuilt.
saying that, baby.
I'm
I know
definitely
you're not.
because if the
Gotta
truth
help
be
the
told,
people.
but I
Because
do-
y'all would take that and say, I heard the woman of God say, listen, you ain't going to get back in the same place in my life. And sometimes it's like, even though that's what you want to say, it's not right. Even though you may want to kick me to the curb and not have nothing to do with it. But you've been here 29 years. Because there is something redemptive in me that you want to pull out. Keep pulling. Let the Lord use you.
Next question.
Okay. All right. So kind of somewhat connected. What is the line between challenging your spouse to grow and become better versus trying to change them?
That's a good question, Lady B. We should have read these questions.
What is that line between,
You want to stretch people and you want them to become all that they can be. But I never want her to be someone that she's not. But like today is a stretch for her.
Sure enough.
We wrestled with this moment, and so I didn't think this moment was going to happen because I just knew she was going to say that we weren't going to do it. But then you came.
This is
to
the
town.
first time Lady B told me to go back to Chicago. So.
You came to town and you worked with her a little bit, and then I told people this morning, I said, now pull it out, pull the set out, and I'm going to let you know whether or not she's going to go on through with it or not. Because her thing is, even she does a women's Bible study, she does it on Zoom so they can control who's looking. They know the names of the people. And then it's like, I want to tell it, if there's somebody that comes in there that they don't know, they say, ooh, number 704, so I see you, who are you? I can hear him. But they just want to know. But when you're on an open forum like this, and maybe you're on YouTube and Facebook, you don't know who's watching. And for her, it's like, I don't want to talk in front of people. That's not my space, that's your space. But today, baby, it's your space, and you're doing well.
She is.
Told the people I don't want to forgive, but anyway, go ahead.
No, I didn't say that. That's a lot of women in this room, though. Is that they have these things, I can forgive this, I can forgive that, but they've already decided what they're not going to forgive.
Yes.
And this,
That's it.
and they make these inner vows to say, if this happened, I'll never do this and I'll never do this. And God allows those things to happen so he can show you who he is in you. He is gracious. Yeah.
I get it.
Don't you ever say what you won't do. Because
I
until
get
it
it.
knock on your door,
That's
you've
good.
already said you wouldn't do it. But there's some stuff that'll knock on your door, and after it knock on
That's
your door,
true.
you thought you did not have the capacity for it. But once it comes, you realize, I can't handle this.
But you do agree that there are some things that are, when I say non-negotiable,
I
some
do.
things that
I
we talk.
understand.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I see you say
understand.
you understand.
I understand.
Because you do know.
I do know. I do.
So let's go back to this part about changing versus challenging, right? What's the line between trying
She
to
beat me
help
under my clothes.
your spouse stretch versus trying to change who they are?
Well, I mean, I think you have to just really weigh out what you love about that person, because trying to change them. For example, I like things. Anybody who knows me, I believe everything has a place. I just like for things to be clean
It's called
and
OCD.
orderly. I don't care what you call it. I got it. Okay. and he's different. And so for a long time in our marriage, I was trying to make him like me. And it was really, really rough because he didn't have the capacity to do that. So I feel like it was unfair to him. And then a light just had to come onto my life in that I don't have to make him like me, but we have to respect one another's differences. And so as opposed to trying to change him, I changed me. And so there are things that we work with to make both of us happy.
Let me give you an example. Like, it's little things that would trigger her whole day. If she wakes up and there are dishes in the sink,
My God.
it like the whole day is just so it doesn't, like at 4 o'clock it hadn't got back because she woke up this morning and dishes was in the sink, and it was like, so what I do, I get up earlier because I'm preparing for prayer. Now I may leave them dishes in there, but I get them dishes after prayer because I want, when she wakes up, I don't need this all day. I know what I'm saying. I want her day to be wonderful. That's what I'm trying to say. I want it to be beautiful.
So love caused you to stretch
Yeah.
in an area that's not your natural comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Love does that. Love suffers long and is kind, so you can go through it. Be kind with it.
He's still there, ain't he?
Yes, a suffering way.
So this kind of leads me to my next question. What are some healthy ways to handle conflict and disagreement? Because in 30 years, I'm sure that there are places of disagreement or you don't see eye to eye. What are healthy ways? I've heard the term fighting fair, right? What does that look like?
Fighting fair, you never criticize something that they don't have the ability to change.
That's good.
Yeah, don't,
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
So you never criticize something they don't have the ability
Right,
to change.
right.
And you
Right.
choose
'Cause
your
I ain't gonna
battle.
never be light skinned. So she called me. get to call me dark stuff all the time. You better like this dark stuff, because it's gonna be dark the rest of your life. So I just tell y'all that.
And you choose your battles.
Choose your battles.
Choose your battles. Everything ain't worth a fight. It's just not worth it. I mean, you get yourself all up in arms, you argue, you go a couple of days not talking to each other. It's just not worth it.
That she's never gonna win. I just don't even say it, because I'm never gonna win. Yeah, so she throws that. Go ahead, help. Go ahead, tell the people.
Oh, I mean, for Bishop, it's very, very difficult for him. He feels like he's Bishop here and at home. And I'm like, really?
Say more about that.
So I feel like that we need to have some counseling about that, because he just he doesn't know when to turn it off. And I'm just like, wait a minute.
She's like, you might be a Bishop church, you're gonna take this trash out. Like, I'm gonna get the trash out right now. You're gonna get the trash right now. So it's like, when I come home, it's different.
I literally found myself praying. I said, God, this is your man. And, you created him. I'm thinking God's man, right here at the service and everything. I heard the voice of the Lord clearly say, but he's yours now. Because he got into that stuff.
You heard who say that?
Stop. But it was like, he's yours now. So you have to work with that, because he got into that with Adam and Eve. And it was like, well, this woman that you gave me, and her was the serpent. It's like, no. You chose him. So you have to find a way to dwell with him according to knowledge. And so I had to learn. And so it took a strong conversation. We had a heated conversation. It was like, okay, listen.
Intense fellowship.
Listen, here. You are Randy Borders. So a lot of things that you do there is not going to work here. You're going to find yourself in a different place.
Let me tell you something. It's something about the nature of a woman. You can tell them so much, but they want to know more. It's this whole communication thing. You can tell them what they need to know, but they feel like you left something out. So most of the time, it's the fighting for these details that don't really matter. And so
it's the little foxes. The details make the difference. Yes, sir. You're going to tell us, you got to tell the whole thing and tell it right in the name of Jesus.
Okay, so I went to the mall. On my way to the mall, I was going to the mall. I stopped by Food Line, picked up a couple chips. Before I got to the store, I'm going to Bath & Body Works. Before I got to Bath & Body Works, I just decided, okay, I've gone and picked up what I want to pick from Food Line, and then I got something from Chick-fil-A. Ate the sandwich before I got home, but I got you everything you needed from Bath & Body Works. She said, you go to Bath & Body Works? Yes. She said, but that ain't all you did. Why come you didn't tell me that you went to Food Line? Oh, you didn't want to tell me that you went to Chick-fil-A. What about that has any value to her obtaining the things that she needed? Because some things just ain't necessary. Right.
Bishop's going to be coming home with you today.
Our time is expired. We got to go. But even when it comes down to fighting fair, we're different in communication. And when it comes down to communication, women are fine print and men are headliners. So I will give you the headlines. I know, but down in paragraph number 3, I saw the last sentence, and you didn't give that to me. I didn't give it to you because I didn't see how it proved anything for us today. I gave you the headlines, and that's what the big deal is what you need. Okay, let's get back to this.
We'll get ready to land the plane, but one thing I want to ask, you all have raised 2 wonderful, amazing children,
Amen.
Ephraim and Hope, and I know that is not easy. How did you all juggle careers, ministries, extended family, all of these responsibilities and things, yet manage to raise 2 great, well-adjusted children and stay in love with each other all at the same time?
Well, number one, our children are not perfect, but they're good children. They're good kids. Because I don't want anybody to think that pastor's kids are perfect, but they are good kids. They are good kids.
Amen.
But the thing I want to say, and they love this church, and they're watching that right now, I know. But it's not just that that we were able to do it, the people in our life understood. Even our church members understood. There was sometimes, Bishop, you just need to get away from us and go do other things. Things that I would do, they released me from. And our children understood. They understood the call of God on our life. And but I would be preaching when my son was in high school. My wife said, you can preach Monday through Thursday, but Friday night you're going to have to come to the game. It was so difficult for me because, number one, for me to leave what I was doing to be out there in the cold. I loved him, but I was like, it's cold. It's really cold. And it's like, it's hard for me to enjoy the game because it's cold. But I would do anything for my children. And my wife was she always told me this. She said, your children not going to grow up and be on Oprah talking about my daddy didn't raise me. My parents didn't raise me. They're going to be raised by their parents. So we didn't have people to keep our kids. My wife said, we're going to keep our own kids. And we're going to raise our own kids because they're going to know that they were raised by their mom and dad. And so we stayed with that. But so it wasn't just that we understood, but the people in life, my sisters helped. When mothers in the church, like when we first got married, we struggled. But the mothers of this church would put money in my hand because I'd have Annie Johnson, Mother Smith. When they would see me, they would give me the Holy Ghost handshake, and I'd be able to buy. My wife was like, I don't know what you're gonna do. And mother would put up my house with some money, and God be made a way. But we struggled a little bit, and I did other things, but I didn't know I could do as many things as I know I could do now. But people have always been a help to us, wanting to make sure that we were good, and for that reason, we were able to juggle those things. But even to your point, because it's going to come up, I don't do a good job as well as I needed to do. Sometimes we're juggling everything.
That's honesty. That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Amen. Anything you want to add later?
Yeah, it was always important to me to raise good people. I didn't want them to do good because their daddy was a pastor. I wanted them to do good because it was right to do good. So it was really, really important to raise kids. And I didn't want them to be just known as PKs. I wanted them to be known as young people who love God, who just happen to be a preacher's kids.
Let me give you an example. Like early on, I didn't do a lot of things. Like I didn't go to the fair and stuff like that. And this part. So, but my wife was like, oh, your children gonna go to the fair. Whether you go to the fair or not, I go to the fair now and I do all those things. But a lot of things, they would not have done that. They just listened to their daddy, but their mom was gonna make sure that they had a balanced life.
That's good. That's good. All right, last couple questions, and we'll kind of just throw them both together. What would you say to, whether it's some folks in the sanctuary or watching, single people who desire marriage, what would you say to them? What would be your counsel to them? And then what would you say to those who are already married?
Single people, let me address y'all. Be happy with yourself. Yes. Because if you change yourself for somebody else and try to be everything that you think they want, you're going to attract what you create. You're going to attract something that's attracted to what you created, but they might not like you for yourself. You're going to find people who like you for you. That's who you want to be with. But be the best that you can be. Now, you can't not comb your hair, don't brush your teeth and all that and expect to find some quality person. You got to take care of yourself. But be the best you that you can be personality-wise. Not to people that's already married. What can you do to enhance your marriage?
That wasn't the question, was it?
Well, what would you say to singles and what would you say to the married?
To the singles, I would say, especially to the women, and I think Bishop Ellis said it best, your body is not a tool for evangelism. You just can't do that. That's not what it's
My
for.
God.
If that's what you're out to do, I'm sorry, you just can't do that. You're gonna find up catching the wrong kind of fish. That's the wrong thing that you want to do, and I think if that's your goal or if that's what you're doing, I just ask you just to stop, because you'll never be happy that way. You will never be happy. And for the brothers, you don't need to be populating the children's ministry.
Wow, come on.
That should not be your goal in life, is to find how many women in the church that you can go through. That's not.
It's not about how many women you can have in your life. It's about finding one woman you can make happy
there you go.
the rest of her life.
And that's what I would say to the single people. To the married people, I would say, love the one you with. I mean, I don't think there's ever a place for cheaters. If you got to cheat, we need to leave. We just need to just go our separate ways. Now, wait a minute. I'm serious. We need to go away for a space until you decide, or I decide, that we're first, and that your wandering eye has just stopped wandering. I just believe that. And marriage takes work. And it's easy a lot of times for us to say what we would do and say how we would manage things in our lives. Sometimes I think married people, we run into things eyes wide shut. It's like, you know good and well that you ain't got no business being over there. You know good and well you ain't got no business having that number in your phone. You know good and well you ain't got no business doing nothing for her. Because it just doesn't lead to anything good. I think we get into stuff a lot of times. We get into heartbreaks and disappointments sometimes, not because of the devil, but because we walk right into it.
Sometimes men keep that number or have that conversation because of the, ain't no business, but it's the way that it makes them feel. It makes them, it makes them feel like they're important, or it makes them feel like, and so, and that's what you should do. You should let your wife make you feel important.
So Bishop, to that point.
But I'm trying to explain to y'all what happens is that they feed a part of you that perhaps you're not getting fed.
So
and
what do you
so
say?
that's why you got to then turn to your wife and say, what that
Bishop,
movie say, feed me, Seymour.
To that point, what do you say to the brother who has that number that he should not have? And what do you say to that brother
that has the number that
has a number he shouldn't have, and he says, well, this makes me feel...
Two things. Number one, delete the number. You know, God knows. And I'm going to tell you, if that woman loves God, it's going to come to light. It might not come to light today, but it's going to come to light because God loves her enough to never keep her in the dark. You might think that you're going to get away, but you never going to get away because God's going to make sure that thing come right in front of her and she's going to walk right into it and stomp you in the head.
It's going to be hurt.
Stomp you in the head.
Amen.
And it's just not for the brothers. Ladies, you know, women have their things too.
That's right.
And if you know it, come on. Come on now. We stop. We got to do better about the ones that are in our lives forever. The ones, do better.
And then another thing I want to tell y'all that's in these dating relationships, quit stringing these women on forever. You know after a little bit whether or not you want to be with them or not. And y'all be stringing folks along forever and making them promises and telling lies. That's not right. Now go ahead and finish that.
Any other closing thoughts?
No, I want to tell you that love it's this beautiful thing to be in love, but love always has to be worked on. Yeah. It needs to be enhanced, and you need to do something to keep it exciting. And we've gone through periods to where we've actually said to each other we're unhappy. You got to vocalize it. Right. We've said it to things like I'm bored. You know I don't do nothing. You don't take me nowhere. Oh God, I'm sorry, I had a flashback. Pray for me. I'm coming back. Don't take me nowhere. But then you got to work on those things so that when they express to you that they have a need, you want to make sure that you're meeting the need so that nobody else has an opportunity to meet.
That's good.
So that number don't have any validity.
Okay, we're gonna pull this on the end. I want to take two questions and then we got to go. We've gone over our time today, but I just felt like that we just needed to just talk, and I didn't need to preach at you, and maybe we'll share a little bit. Hopefully something that we shared has helped you. But if anybody got any questions, you got to do it really quickly, and because we are on borrowed time. Got a question?
What would you say to single moms or single fathers who have children, young children, and choosing a partner that way? What is your advice for trying to date being a single parent?
Well, first thing I say, don't bring anybody around your children too soon. Is don't let them see 15 uncles and all of that kind of stuff. What you want to do is you want to make sure you and the individual have something in common, a good bond, and then you want to let them know about your children. Let them know whether or not, because they get to choose whether or not that's a non-negotiable for them, and if they don't want your child, they don't want you. But no, you don't bring nobody in your life that say, I want to, but I can't deal with your children, because it's not going to go right down the road, because your child is always going to be your child. So you wouldn't want to prefer your child, but you want to bring somebody, and once they get into that, watch how your child interacts with them. Because if your child can't develop a bond with them as well, that's still a non-negotiable. But be a bridge and try to help them and mediate that. But in today's society, most people that get together, there are children involved. And so you just have to learn how to work, be intentional. I'm going to say have to learn. Be intentional about a work of the blended family dynamic.
Right.
Hi.
Stand up.
Hi, my question is for Lady Borders. Lady Borders, can you tell married women how to be the submissive wife, but yet still have a voice?
Wow. That's a real good question. I think you never put yourself in a position where you embarrass your husband publicly. What you do at home, that's your business. And I think there's a way that you all can have a conversation that will help your situation or whatever you're facing. But, public displays of anger and displeasure.
But
I mean,
she's
there's
talking about submission. She's not public-private. She says submission.
and that's what I'm getting to,
Okay,
because there are times and there are places that you will do. Most of the time when you all see me, if he asks me to do something, I'll do it. I mean, I want to. I may come kicking and screaming, but I will do it, and we'll have a conversation at home about what I didn't want to do and why I didn't want to do it. But I just think there's a level, and I'm very, very private. So I think there's just levels of our privacy that need to remain private. And I don't ever, and that's one of the things that is a non-negotiable for me. Everything isn't always in my favor, is that I won't be unsubmissive and I won't disrespect him publicly.
But how do you still maintain your voice?
Well, in my mind, when I think about, let me take Eve, for example. Eve never got into Adam's bed to actually get him to sin, eat the apple, cause all this mess that we go through with childbirth. What she did was got in his ear. And if you can learn how to talk to your mate, or talk to your, doing? If you can learn to talk to your husband, there's a way that you can talk to your husband. Will you stop? That you can talk to your husband that I think will get you results. Both of you will be closer. He'll feel, and you will feel that you have honored him, because what you had was a good conversation to get you where you needed to be. You don't have to disrespect him. You ain't got to be ugly. You ain't got to talk about him, especially not to other people. I thought you'd be talking
to me because you really like.
So anyway, I hope that answered your question.
You got a question right here.
I would just like to say that, when a woman, a husband and wife, talking to each other, a woman just needs to learn not to try to put so much bass in her voice, because, that's just, men don't like that. It's just something about that when a man and his wife having a conversation like.
She raising her voice?
Yeah, get to raise it. It's just something about that. It does something to a man. So you need to learn how to not try to put no bass in your voice.
He didn't have a question, he had a comment. Now, we don't know who he was talking to, but whoever he was talking to, just lower your voice down a little bit, especially if you carry a gun.
Well, thank you both. Can we give it up for Bishop and Pastor Norma? Come on, you can do better than that. Let's give it up for them.